keep them or take them, read them, bring them back. If you take it and keep it, though, read it, because somebody else might have wanted to read it. And if we find that, oh, I really wanted that, but it's gone, that's fine. We can order more. So there's this one's called Take It Personally. It's a practical guide to owning and obeying the Great Commission. That's by Pastor Chappell. It's going to be back there. Is that you or me? Okay. This one I have my own edition of, and that's on my to-do read hopefully this week, along with a particular book by Watchman Nee. This one is by Brother R.B. Ouellette, and is Finding Refuge in God Through Decisions of Trust. And so I'm really looking forward to that. It's just a little guy. It looks like a breakfast read. But kind of to go with that, we've taught through this book, and I love this book. It is When You Just Can't Get Over It. This is also by Brother Ouellette. This one he wrote before he got cancer. He got cancer, and they wound up having to take a big booming voice preacher, they had to take his voice box out. He wrote this book after. So I knew that, I love this book, so I got 3 copies of it. Somebody has like mine one that has my notes in it. If you want to bring that one back, I'll give you a brand new one. But I don't know who got it. Somebody's got it. I probably should. Who's got mine? I got more for you. Brand new. This one is really, this one's aimed at more kids. This one's called Victory. It's by Brother Jim Shetler. 7-step strategy for resisting temptation and overcoming sin. So, Caroline, you really need that one. But it's a good little book. Brother Shetler is really, really good. So you'll enjoy reading him. He's a good read, easy read. And then this one is Pressure Points. It is by Dr. George Crabb. It's Confronting Inner Sources of Stress and Experience God's Peace for Your Soul. I don't have time for this one, and my stack is too tall, but eventually I'm going to read this one. So this one's back there too. Oh, and then there's this one. Now, I have a feeling that this one will be, someone will take it, but look at it. This one's by Sister Glorianne Gibbs. Now, she and David Gibbs' mission field is he's a legal missionary for Christians, for persecuted Christians. And him and his son. And Mrs. Gibbs has been along with him throughout the whole journey. This is a devotional for women. It's beautiful. I'll just show you the book. All the pages. It's really beautiful. And there's oh my goodness. My God.
You guys laugh, I'm telling you.
So they had been selling so many of these that we were limited to how many that we could take. And one's already been taken. We could get 2. We got 2. But we could always order more of them if more people are interested. I think with like how so many of our kids are doing their coloring book Bibles, that would fit in very nicely. So we have all this. They'll be on the back, and put them back there. And then there's one other thing that I've failed to mention, and that Brother Eric picked up for us when he was down in Texas, and it's called Cowboys for Christ. And there's just there are some little decals, some little stickers. And so if anybody wants any of those, they'll be on the back. They were supposed to be for men, but some girls are cowboys too. And so that's on the back. Okay, Brother Rod, come preach.
Michael, would you open us in prayer, please?
Thank you, Father, for this day. Thank you for every good thing in our Lord Jesus. Thank you for gathering us, so we can worship you and look at your word and read with you together with each other. Thank you for the fellowship. We thank you for the love and grace and the salvation that we have in our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'm really glad the youth are in here today, okay? This is one of those lessons that you don't want to learn when you're in your 60s like I had to, okay? Learn it now, okay? As most of you know, I really love the book of Matthew, and it's kind of my go-to book of the Bible because I'll read other things and then I'll come back and I'll read something more in Matthew. Yesterday morning, my reading was, "Who is my enemy?" Does anyone see what the subtitle is? Great question. Okay, next slide, please. All right. So if you open your Bibles to Matthew 5:43. Here we go. Okay, 43 to the end of the chapter. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if we love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? But be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So, how many of us in this room are perfect? That's it, okay? But by just this very statement, does this mean we're supposed to allow ourselves to fall short of that goal? We need to work toward that, okay? There are a lot of things in this life, okay, especially nowadays, if any of you possibly noticed, we're doing a lot of pitting one against each other for whatever reasons, okay? This winter, I went through a lot of it personally within the city of Toledo because I was not doing what they wanted, and therefore I was the bad guy, and I got a lot of heat. In fact, one person told me I was the worst thing that ever happened to Toledo. I had to kind of smile at that one because I could probably name off the top of my head at least 25 other people that might outreach me in that goal. But the Lord really used this time to remind me of this section and of what I'm supposed to strive for. Because my town had turned against each other. We had two factions, two very loud, vociferous, antagonistic, and a lot of times foul factions. Now, in all honesty, they maybe made up 15% of the entire population, but they were loud, and they were vocal. And they made sure everybody knew that if you agreed with the other side, you were their enemy. And you were evil, and you were bad. Same thing went for that other side. Do we see that anywhere else in our state or our national stuff that's going on? Okay. Next slide, please. So, definition of enemy, okay? The first one is the common one. a person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. The traditional enemies of your tribe, okay? However you want to define tribe, okay? The traditional bad folks that you've been told about your whole life, okay? This is the one that I think of, okay, which is how the Lord was able to help me through this winter. A hostile nation or its armed forces or citizens, especially in a time of war. The enemy shot down 4 helicopters. I spent many years in the United States Army. So that definition of enemy is what comes to my mind, okay? Now, I will tell you that the Soviet Union was my big enemy when I was in the service. They've just changed the name, and they're not really trying to protect the innocent. So we'll just let you figure that one out on your own. I have to work at that one, okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Lord talks about being persecuted here. This is where we're going to get interactive, okay? So, Joe, since I know you can speak, what do you think it means to be persecuted? Give me some concrete examples. What suffering? That's a really nice gray word. Give me something a little bit more tangible to hang it on.
He
Okay.
needs an example.
What? Torture? Okay. Dakota? Slander? Okay. Being told that you're telling lies. Okay. Marilyn, what do you think of when you think of persecution?
Somebody's on your case all the time, and in their mind, they have a different view of what you continue to do.
Okay. Brother Michael,
Well, that's kind of unfair since I've been following the persecuted church for
but you know what, Michael? That's why I saved you for last.
many years. It goes for everything from being ostracized in a community or society, not being able to vote or even purchase things or work or whatever, to not being able to own land, not having a voice in your community, to not being able to own anything or having the things that you do own stolen from you and everyone thinks it's okay. To be beaten, killed, tortured, imprisoned, oppressed in any way that that society or that culture deems appropriate, and it's perfectly fine.
Okay, so that sums up the second question there. How is persecution defined here in the U.S. versus most of the rest of the world? Okay, other than the example of torture, it's about being uncomfortable, to be blunt. Here, okay? When we define persecution in this country, it's because someone disagrees with us. Because someone says that, well, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a dummy, you're blah, 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 fill in the blank. They don't agree with you. Well, that's being persecuted, or they're not doing what you think they should be doing. Yes, Michael?
Yeah, in many ways, the persecution, if you want to call it that takes place in this country is more of a psychological persecution because our entire culture is a culture of death. You got skulls everywhere, it's all about death. You watch a movie, it's about death. And the Lord, God, He's about life. Everything is reversed. What's good is bad, what's bad is good. So, if we were to say something good, stand up for somebody. Say, I want that baby to be born. You're going against that society, you're going against what's considered normal. That itself is a form of persecution.
So to give you an idea in this culture exactly what Michael's talking about, can anyone tell me what genre of movie is most made in this country? Horror. And it's not even close. It's 5 to 1.
And a lot of that horror is actually occult, demonic based.
Exactly.
You know,
So,
yeah,
think about this. For every Forrest Gump, there's 5 horror movies,
right.
okay? For every Avengers, there's 5 horror movies, okay? They're cheap, they're easy to produce, they don't take a lot, and they just mill them out because
Gateways to the satanic.
and they're gateways to not, you know, yes, to the satanic, but they're gateways to filling your soul with darkness. Now, if you take that last step, darn right, okay? But if you don't have any hope, where are we going to be? See, one of the things that the Lord really got after me on this winter is that even though I had a lot of people in town yelling at me, because they were both yelling at me, that's the best part, because I didn't wave my magic mayor wand and make everything great, but I didn't have the power to do that. I was not in control of the situation that was occurring. One of the great things in this country is we are supposed to work by the rules. And the rules don't allow me to reach below anybody in personnel other than the city manager. That's as far as my reach goes as a mayor. And even then, I've got to do it with all of the council involved, okay? It's not unilateral. All the other decisions below that level, I have to be hands-off. So both sides thought I was the enemy, and therefore, they came after me. And they're my friends. They're people that, their kids grew up with my kids. We've known each other for 25 years plus. I could have done what most people do in this country. Okay? I am going to be offended, I'm going to be wronged, and I'm going to take it out on you. It's easy to do. Joe, when I tell you that Wallport sucks, what do? There you go. You come right back at me, right? Right? Okay. That's human nature. I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to defend my team. I'm going to defend my wife. I'm going to defend and defend and defend. I had to realize that my job was to defend everybody, and even defend your right to look at me and call me evil. I had to love you, even through it all. 2 of the people that thought I was their worst enemy for 7 months were the ones that won the cooking competition yesterday. It made them kind of uneasy that I kept saying good job and kept talking to them the whole time, because they're like, you're not mad at it. And one of them actually said that, you're not mad at me. No, I'm not mad at you. You were defending what you thought was right. One of the great things in this country is we all get the right to do that. And I'm hoping that continues. Because as Brother Michael talked about the persecution in other lands, I've lived in places around this world where if you say one thing against the government out loud where some official can hear it, bye-bye. You'll wake up in a jail cell somewhere. Okay? That's kind of the norm in the rest of the country. The rest of the world. I hate to tell people this, but it's true. Okay? If I were to wake up in Turkey, even now, and say that Erdogan is a fill in the blank, use your best epithet, whatever you want to say, I'm pretty much guarantee you within 72 hours, I would either be kicked out of the country or thrown in a hole. That's the way it is. And that's a, quote, democratic country. Yes, sir.
A lot of those countries, it's not even like if you get hurt by the government, like your own neighbors will tell them.
Yeah, because they want to stay safe. So, God, I'm going to date myself. For those of you that are of the younger generation, how many of you know what the Iron Curtain was? Okay, give me your waffle answer. Okay,
It's not Iron Man's window dressings.
yeah. Thank you. Okay. So, I'll try to be brief. Yeah. So at the end of World War II, okay, Europe was divided into East and West by the factions that won. And the factions that won were what now is comprised of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, of which the US, Britain, France were the big signatories, and the communists, Soviet Union. Okay?
Signatories means they signed on to it,
Thank you, dear.
to that.
So I'm gonna use big words. So this is what it's like when I coach you, all right? I use large words because you need to learn them, okay? Yeah, some of you actually got an IQ percentage point smarter over the years too.
Eventually I'll learn.
See, there you go, it works. So Europe was split. The country of Germany was split into two parts, East Germany and West Germany. Now, the city of Berlin sits right in the middle of East Germany and West Germany. Okay, just inside the East German border, as it were, okay? The Iron Curtain was the euphemism that was thrown up in 1952, I believe, when they tried to shut down all movement from east to west and west from east.
Did you tell them who was on the east side? It's the right.
It's the Russians, okay? I have a lot of deep-seated stuff against the Soviet Union / Russia, okay? Their people were so conditioned on the east side of that Iron Curtain that their police didn't have to do a lot of investigation because the neighbors told on them because they didn't want to get in trouble. So everywhere you went, somebody, if you wanted to step out of line from what the party wanted you to do, there was somebody waiting to snitch on you. So, for example, if Joe got out of line, you, even as sister, could light him up and get a goodie out of the deal. That's why I picked that, because I knew that dynamic would be, understood in that realm. Am I right or am I right? See, there you go.
So Joe's being persecuted.
Yes, Joe is being persecuted. Get used to it. Persecution in this country has come down to that difference of opinion, okay, down to not just how do we think the country should run, but who should run the country.
What about our persecution of our religious rights?
Depends on how you define that. And what I mean by that, okay, here, let me be very careful when I say this to you. Our religious rights stem from the First Amendment of the Constitution, okay? The issue that I've seen happening is there seems to want to be an establishment of Christianity as the religion of the government. The last time that was done was a guy named Constantine, and it really didn't work out all that well. Okay? If you go back and read your history, how do I say this? Until that happened, Christianity was the fastest moving religion around the globe. Persecution moved the bubble. Okay, and when I say persecution, young folks, I mean getting fed to lions. I mean going out and being the unarmed people standing in front of gladiators with swords. Okay? And fighting for their life. I mean getting tossed into dungeons. Okay? All those things. That was the persecution of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century church. Constantine came along, had a vision, that Christianity was supposed to be the way to go. So the persecution within the Roman Empire went away. But with that came comfort. And that comfort is what we deal with now. Okay? I would argue that a little bit of persecution is not a bad thing. I would argue that having people tell me I'm wrong is a great way to reach back out to them with the love of Jesus and explain to them why he is the only way. Next slide, please. Now, this is one of my favorite things, okay? You've heard it said from many people that the New Testament is the new covenant, and how Jesus turned everything on its head from the Old Testament. And, you know, it's all brand new stuff, right? There's two gods. There's the God of the Old Testament, and there's the God of the New Testament. I would encourage you to actually read your entire Bible.
What chapter are you from? You got the verse.
Thanks. Let me go double check. Good gravy. You would have to be technically about that, wouldn't you? That's why I love you, dear. $12 or $25? $25.
Thank you.
Yes, 25. Okay. Read it for me, please. Yep. New covenant. Do you know what a covenant is? A pact. You know what a pact is?
It's like a treaty.
Okay? It would be like, I made a deal with you, okay, that from this day forward, I will root for you no matter what. Okay? That would be a covenant with you. Doesn't mean I gotta root for Joe, but it does mean I'd root for you. Okay? A lot of people talk about Old Covenant, which is Abrahamic, Mosaic, those things. And then there's the, quote, New Covenant, which is what Jesus brought, which brought the Gentiles, quote, into the mix. Okay? So that's the New Covenant. So go ahead.
And not as we be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee.
One of the interesting things in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount, and all through Christ's teachings, you can look back and find it in the Old Testament. It's not new. God did not change, folks. He is the unchanging God. Now, we can have discussions on how things occurred in the Old Testament. And you know me, I love to debate. We'll talk anytime. Okay? But I submit to all of you that he has not changed from day one, Genesis 1, to today. That his heart is still for us to be reconciled back to him. So, let me see. I'll pick on Joe again. Well, I don't get to pick on Joe very often, so I'm going to use him. So, Joe, tell me why that verse 22 talks about heaping coals of fire upon their head. What does that mean? What's that a metaphor for? No clue? You sure? Well, then I'll go to the oldest Joe in the building.
Well, I'm actually kinda in his league, I've heard different ideas of what that means. I would assume it means it kind of creates problems.
So I can give you a perfect example just from yesterday. The one person who told me, why are you being nice to me? That's bugged them. Okay? That's a coal on their head, right? It's like, you don't have a reason to be nice to me. I called you all kinds of names there for months. When you're nice to your enemy, when you knock the you-know-what out of a Toledo player and knock him down, and then reach down and help him back up again, what does that tell the Toledo guy? Nope.
Who needs such little bodies to use such great damage?
So one of the things, and I use that, Yeah. I use that example specifically because of two schools that used to play each other all the time, okay? And that was Toledo and Santiam Christian. Okay, I will tell you this, that I think Santiam Christian is the only school that I think that's actually read the book. Because in my experience of coaching and playing against many Christian schools around the state, their behavior reflects the book, okay? They loved playing us, and we loved playing them because that was how it was done. We knocked the you-know-what out of the guy, and we helped him up. Because it wasn't an enemy situation. We were competitors, and that's where it ended. There wasn't any talk about, I'm going to do this to you, or you're going to do that to me. It was just, we're going to line up, and we're going to go at it. And may the best team win. And they loved playing us because we always brought our A game, and we loved playing them because we knew it was going to be a dogfight because they had really good athletes and usually had 3 or 4 more than we did. But we brought our lunch pails to work, and we went to work. And I miss those days, okay? I miss those days. Back when you could have competition without malice. A lot of coaches today talk about the enemy. Not your competitor, your enemy. Like I'm supposed to hate them. We don't need to do that, okay? I'll just say it, when the liberals come out and say that we should have abortion at any time, I completely disagree with that, but they're not my enemy. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to talk with them, I'm going to try and talk, because if you guys know me, I can think of all the wildest, craziest things in the world, and I will make them answer me questions on those things, okay? Because I believe that they're being illogical, that they're saying one thing on another topic that directly impacts this topic, but because of this topic's being so front and center, okay, that they are not being intellectually honest. I can do the same thing with a staunch conservative that believes abortion should be all the time, it should never happen, and so on and so forth, because these are the same people that will turn around and vote against health care for kids. Well, I understand you want them born. I want them born, but I also think they probably ought to have a decent life after they're born, which means they probably need to be able to see a doc. They probably need to be able to get the health care they need, okay? And mom, right? Neither side hits the mark, but they are very righteous in what they talk about, okay? You guys are gonna have to deal with these things as you get older. Now, you can either do what we've done in this country for the last 40 years and treat everybody as you're either my friend or you're my enemy. There is no middle ground. Or you can treat everybody like, next slide, please. Read it, Joe.
Loving our enemies is honor unto me.
And what does that mean, Joe? Okay.
Instinctual. So when you're on the field of play and your emotions get hot, then it is natural to have emotional, to be angry at your opponent, okay? That's the instinct that you have. And so the instinct with an enemy is to fight an enemy, and to hate an enemy, and to wish bad things for the enemy. Because that's what you would just, somebody snapped your fingers and said, what are you gonna do now? That's the first thing that you do. That's man's instinct.
That's our fallen nature.
Yeah, that's our fallen nature.
Our fallen nature is to jump right to, I'm gonna rip your throat out. Am I wrong, Joe? Okay. See, that's the thing. In our fallen nature, and middle-aged Joe over here,
He's right in the middle between 0 and 100.
That's not implying that old Joe is 100. Let's get clear.
now, middle-aged Joe will remember the days when, on a wrestling mat, you could slap the guy upside the head. How did that usually make you feel?
Well, there's a way to throw a crossface. There's a way to do the crossface. There's a way for me to make sure Rod knows I'm going to continue to crossface. But I was not taught, and as little Joe knows, there's a way to throw it. There's a way to do it. Exactly, if I smile. But there's a way to not throw it. Because as much as I really want to hurt the guy underneath me, there are other ways for me to do those things rather than blankly throw a left, because I'm primarily left-handed, a left hook across his face. So, the fun part about it is that if Rod is on top of me, I know that Rod is going to throw a crossface. Pretty sure Rod might want to throw a left hook to my face. He might. But there's a way to put that individual's, male or female's, nose to their right ear.
And when I was growing up, when Joe was growing up, you could always spot wrestlers for two bodily features. Any ideas what those features were? A busted nose and cauliflower ear. Okay? If they'd been wrestling any amount of time, you knew they were a wrestler because of those two body features. Okay? Because in those days, that's what you were taught to do. You were taught to go after them. Okay? And if I take the palm of my hand, it looks legal, but if I do this through the crest of your nose, bad things happen at that
The first Sunday Joe was in church, the very first Sunday, I remember when I was preaching on, they're like, you're a fighter, you know what I'm talking about.
Probably just smile.
How did I know? How did I know?
But I can tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. There were two guys in my league growing up. We played football against each other, and we wrestled against each other, and we played baseball against each other. Okay? One of them was a guy from Philomath named Ron Rampenthal. By the time we were in high school, Ron was 6'4", 325 pounds. Now, before he became a senior, Ron was more of a pear shape. Senior year, between junior and senior year, Ron actually hit the weight room and it was more of a V. Now, this was the dichotomy between me and the other guy from Elmira. His name was Bob Kornman. Bob was just, let me put it this way, he looked like Adonis in a 6'4" body. Always did, probably still does, irritates me to no end.
They don't know who Adonis
Okay,
This is true. Chris Evans,
Reacher.
Captain America, there we go.
You seen Reacher? There you go.
Okay, Reacher, yes.
That
that's
was
right.
Bob, okay? Always looked, ripped the whole 9 yards, okay? But in football, I got him every year, almost every play. Football was my gig. At the end of the game, we'd be walking through the line, and they both would say the very same thing to me. See you in wrestling season. Because in wrestling season, they would throw me around like a rag doll, like I wasn't even there. That's what they were good at, okay? And then come baseball season, we'd all look at each other, because all of us pitched. And we're like, you'd leave wrestling season at the end of this district tournament, we'd all look at each other and say, okay, we're all even now, right? Because we all knew we could throw at each other in baseball. For those of you that have been around a while, it used to be okay to throw at people. Not anymore. Now, yeah, you gotta be really trickier about it now. In my day, Joe, if you do what a lot of kids do and come put your toes right up on the batter's box, I guarantee you're gonna get one pitch right about here. I won't back you off that plate in a heartbeat. Okay? And if it hits you, you just took your base. There was no fanfare. There was no umpire warning. There was, I own between those batter box lines. And if you want to lean out across it, I have every right to whop you one. Okay? That was old school baseball. And if you hit one of our guys, guarantee I was going to hit you. See? Now you know who the pitcher was in here. Okay?
There were other things too, like if you ran across in front of the batter's box to get in the box instead of behind the catcher. Correct.
Oh.
If you ran on the line and I was catching and you were on the line, I was gonna beat you in the back of the head or the back between the numbers because you're gonna be out.
Yep.
How we play.
So,
And I would expect that from his team if I went to his school, vice versa.
Okay, so back to loving our enemies.
okay.
That was good church, I don't know.
So if you read on down, okay, our enemies are not like us. Really? But they are. We are all made in God's image. Every one of us. Our enemies do not look like us. Guess what? But they are. We're all made in God's image. Every one of us is. Everyone from the multi-murdering serial killer, all the way to Mother Teresa, all of us are made in his image. Every last one of us. Yes. Notice I said that with a heavy heart. Yes. Even the designer of the ugliest truck ever, I'll say it again, ever, okay, is made in his image. Michael.
That brings up a good point. Our minds can be so fixed, black and white. But that whole thing about that even our enemies created in God's image. Take that another step in a way, on our plane, and that is that person right there who's your enemy, through your influence, could possibly also be a future Christian.
Exactly.
If you think about them as a future Christian, they're being your enemy, and there you are going out of your way, and they're looking at you like you're nuts. Why are you doing this when I'm being nasty to you? And if they ask you, you say, well, I'll do anything for a future Christian.
Yep. So what did Martin Luther King Jr. say there? No, you get to speak this time. No, not her, you. What does he say?
Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend.
Think about that. I can use all kinds of other things on you over the course of time. I can use torture. I can do all sorts of things. But love is the only thing that can make you a friend. It can take you from being my enemy to my friend. Okay? And now, thank you, Michael. Last slide, please. Bottom line, John 3:16. For God so loved the world, everybody, all of those people that are made in his image, everyone. He gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Is there anything in that statement that says, except for? So all those people that we think are our enemies are exactly what Michael said, future Christians. And we've got to treat them as such. Yes, Michael? Just, yeah, I get you. I get you. I thought it was headed up, so I hope that all made sense to you. And youngsters, I'll be blunt, learn it now, okay? Because if you got to wait till you're like me in my 60s to figure out that it actually does mean everybody, and not just, for lack of a better word, in my case, people in the United States or whatever, this opens a lot of eyes, okay? And you will have more impact in this world than a lot of us old folks ever had, because it took us a long time to learn this. Learn it now, walk it, believe it. Yes, Joe, you have to actually care about those folks in Toledo.
You know, you might marry one.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think marrying somebody from Toledo was on Charity's bingo card, okay? See? All right. Thank you all for your patience. And you're dismissed for about 8 minutes.